Once upon a time, in a faraway land, lived a kind girl named Cinderella. She worked hard every day, cleaning and cooking, while dreaming of a better life. Her stepmother and stepsisters were very unkind to her. They made her do all the chores and laughed at her dreams. At night, Cinderella would sit by the fire and dream of a better life. Her only friends were the kind little animals. One day, a royal messenger arrived with an invitation. There would be a ball at the palace, and every young lady was invited. The stepsisters rushed to get ready for the ball. They wore fancy dresses and too much makeup. Cinderella helped them kindly, even though they were never kind to her. Cinderella asked if she could go to the ball too, but her stepmother laughed and said, "You, in rags? Never." After they left for the ball, Cinderella sat alone and cried. Suddenly, a soft light appeared, and a magical fairy stood before her. The fairy godmother told Cinderella she would go to the ball, but first they needed to get her ready. With a little magic, with a wave of her wand, the fairy godmother turned a pumpkin into a golden carriage, ready to take Cinderella to the ball. The fairy godmother turned Cinderella's rags into a beautiful gown and glass slippers. She looked like a true princess. Cinderella arrived at the palace. Everything sparkled, and she felt like she was walking into a dream. Everyone turned to look at the mysterious girl. The prince couldn't take his eyes off her. The prince smiled and held out his hand. "May I have this dance?" he asked. Cinderella said yes. The music filled the room as Cinderella and the prince danced. Everyone watched, but the two of them saw only each other. Cinderella smiled as she danced. She had never felt so happy. Everything felt like a dream come true. Suddenly, the clock struck midnight. Cinderella gasped. She had to leave before the magic faded. Cinderella ran down the steps, heart racing. As she fled, one glass slipper slipped from her foot. The magic faded. Cinderella ran home in the night. Her gown now rags, her carriage now a pumpkin. The prince reached the step where Cinderella had fallen. There he found a single glass slipper, perfect and glowing. At sunrise, the prince began his journey. He carried the glass slipper, determined to find the girl who fit it. The prince arrived at the house. The stepsisters tried to squeeze into the glass slipper, but it was clearly not meant for them. Cinderella stepped forward. Everyone stared. Then, sparkles filled the air as the fairy godmother appeared beside her. The prince slipped the glass slipper onto Cinderella's foot. It fit perfectly. Everyone gasped. Magic filled the room. Cinderella's old clothes vanished, and her shining gown returned in a swirl of light. Hand in hand, Cinderella and the prince stepped outside. The village watched in awe as they walked toward the golden carriage. Cinderella looked back one last time. The golden carriage rolled away, and her old life faded behind her. The golden carriage arrived at the palace gates. Cheers filled the air. Cinderella had returned, and the kingdom rejoiced. The palace came alive with joy. Music filled the air as Cinderella and the prince entered, hand in hand. Under the golden lights, Cinderella and the prince danced together. Their hearts moved as one. The wedding was grand and full of joy. Love, magic, and flowers surrounded the happy couple. Cinderella and the prince rode across the kingdom. The people cheered, and the sky sang with joy. And so Cinderella and the prince lived happily ever after. Magic, love, and kindness filled their days.